Okay, it's recording. Connecting to cloud server. Go ahead. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Yogi Chris, PhD, representing IMC Nation today, interviewing Dennis DioNyGenEs. I say it right because it's spelled differently. DioNyGenEs.
Yeah, basically it's
he's
DioNyGenEs.
how do you say it?
DioNyGenEs.
DioNyGenEs.
It's like a merge between two.
DioNyGenEs.
Perfect.
Dionysus and Diogenes. Got it. DioNyGenEs.
Perfect. Indeed.
So we got DioNyGenEs, Dennis from Amsterdam, Netherlands, and a young philosopher who decoded an old philosopher's emblem that I have tattooed on my chest. It was very interesting, and I sent it out in a newsletter. Some of the patterns you saw in this, and it's an important coat of arms because we use it here at the Stoic Temple. It's an alchemy process for changing negativity, changing your energy, you combined with physicality, physical exercises, and general Stoic philosophy to tap into an experience as a human, tap your animal instinct, to tap your your philosophical bent, to unravel the bad karma, you could say, of your life, get it right, get it going right. All sorts of things. We're going to go into this coat of arms. There's some Latin sayings that we use. This is a very useful coat of arms that has in it a dozen or so mental devices that you can use to change your state of mind. And that's what we do. We become masters of this. And people that are trying to do the Lion's Den process that don't understand the coat of arms don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand what you're doing. You just don't understand what you do. Like, that's the mantra. If you don't understand the coat of arms, you don't understand what you're doing. And so God bless anybody that watches this recording. And if you don't know about the coat of arms, you're just,
you're missing out.
So without further ado, here's the man that, without knowing, from out of nowhere, it seems, the what I called in the newsletter, familiar stranger, someone that knew they were around, but they weren't physically around, and they came around and they showed that they belonged by teaching us they already had the teaching. So the teaching of the coat of arms, the beast coat of arms, this circular emblem, many symbols. Here we go. Dennis DioNyGenEs.
Indeed, brother. Indeed. Yes. So indeed, my name is
Dennis. How did it happen?
And well, let me just think about it for a moment.
How did you first come across? How did you come across the AZD? Let's just start with that.
For sure. So, I started out. I found the AZD on YouTube actually via my recommendations, and I just started watching videos of him. That's about, I think, about 3 years ago now, and I basically started out watching his videos about male and female dynamics, which I found really interesting around the time.
Yeah, of course.
And at that point in time, I wasn't really aware. He also had a very deep philosophical side to him. But I was obviously drawn to the content he was putting out.
Got it. So even a prodigious philosophical genius such as yourself was seeking wisdom on dating and women.
Of course, brother, of course. And especially because I was in a relationship at the time.
That's amazing.
With a girl, and I was really interested about just developing myself in regard to that subject. I wanted to know, like, how do you deal with relationship trouble, for example, like during conflicts? And just from the types of videos that AZD was putting out, I immediately got the impression that this man had a lot to teach me in regards to that subject. So Um, I don't know what video it was, but there was a video I was watching, and during one of those videos, he mentioned that he had a program on exactly what I wanted to learn about, which was Lost Spell. So I signed up for Lost Spell, and that's basically where my journey with ACD and IMC Nation truly began.
Love Spell about a year ago.
Yep.
And fast forward, now the Beast Coat of Arms comes out. Now, you didn't take the Beast camp. I know because I'm the person that signs everybody up for these camps. And so you weren't there at the camp where he decoded the Coat of Arms. You came at it from a different angle. It's like somebody, it's similar to, you know, one person creates calculus based on derivatives, another person on integrals and integration. And so you came at it from a different, anyway, talk about that. Like fast forward, like when did you come across the coat of arms, this circular emblem, and what was the process? Yeah, show us, take us through that exposure and development.
Yeah, for sure, brother. So the very first thing I remember when I saw the emblem for the first time was during an Instagram post.
I'm going to share my screen and show the emblem while you're talking.
Yeah, of course. So I was immediately drawn to this emblem, and during the time that I was encountered the emblem, I was already very deep into my philosophical studies, especially in regards to Stoicism. And I had already established a kind of pattern for myself about about the Stoic virtues. And just for some reason, the four symbols that are in the center of the coat of arms just made a kind of correspondence for me. So there were just a lot of subjects that I was drawn to, and I just kept seeing the same pattern in regards to the subject. So, for example, another subject that I was drawn to was astrology in a sense, but not the contemporary astrology with zodiac signs and such, but more of an ancient form of astrology. And one of the concepts that I was really looking into was something called the precession of the equinoxes. And in the precession, in that process of the precession of the equinoxes, which is, well, how do I explain it? The Earth, which is turning on its axis, has there's well, let me think. As the Earth is turning on its axis, we can see that the equinox, the point of the equinox, is always pointing towards one of the astrology signs. So every 72 years, that point is shifting with 1 degree. And what I find out and what I was so drawn to was that shift which was taking place was pointing in a sort of it had a certain trajectory, and that trajectory was following a certain pattern, and there were 4 prominent symbols which I immediately made a connection with inside the coat of arms. And so there were 4 stars, which were called the 4 guardians of the sky, which this trajectory went through. And these four stars were called 1, first was Regulus, which was the lion's heart. The second star was called Aldebaran, which was like the eye of the bull. The third star was called Fomohau, which was the mouth of the fish drinking the wisdom of Aquarius. And the fourth symbol was Antares. So I already had this this pattern of 4 symbols somewhat lurking in my subconscious. So when I saw the coat of arms, I made that connection between the two. And from there, I just intuitively started connecting the information on those types of symbology with those of the coat of arms. So it was kind of a really abstract process for me. But as I started applying the correspondences that I found between them, and also the correspondences I found with the Stoic virtues, I started to see a pattern to begin to emerge.
Yeah, I like this word correspondences.
Yeah. So
that's
basically,
I see exactly what you're saying.
It's like a very subtle connection, but somehow it jumped out at me, and I don't know what to call it. Maybe it's intuition. Maybe it's
how
synchronicity.
you patterned your consciousness. It's how you patterned your consciousness through your studies, and basically, perhaps through your DNA was already ready. Perhaps you were already hardwired to recognize that pattern, but definitely it doesn't hurt the way that you're describing the astrology, and that was your interest, and that these symbols popped out to you, jumped out to you, as you say.
For sure.
You know, we definitely see more on the outside of what we imprint on the inside, of what we have imprinted on the inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense, you know.
For sure. So that's where it originated for me. And from there, it was just like filling in the blanks. I already had the pattern. So if you have the pattern,
sure.
You just need to fill in the blanks. And that's basically what I started doing.
Okay, so on this coat of arms. Yeah. So the coat of arms has 4 symbols in the middle, around the center: a wheel, a writing device, animal, a totem animal, and a tent. And then around the circle of the coat of arms are beads and ants.
Yep.
And the 4 inner symbols are actually presented on a shield, all of which is resting on top of a dragon's head. And then there's 4 sayings in Latin that are around the perimeter underneath the beads: Vitum Aut Cupalm, Amor Fati, Memento Mori, and Carpe Diem. Mm-hmm. So, that's roughly, I think it's about 12 symbols. Maybe there's like 14. I don't know. Is there anything else that I missed on it?
No, but that's basically it, brother. Well, the eye in the center.
Oh yeah.
The top eye.
Yeah, there's the eye in the center. Obviously, the eye in the center also, and the eye in the center. And then I think that's it. Right? The ants are different sizes. The colors are just are red and black originally, and that's it, right? I think that's it.
Yep.
Cool.
For sure.
All right. So this is really powerful. So let me ask you, on the Lion's Den, have you begun the phase 1 calisthenics routine?
I have, yes.
That's dope. How's it going for you? Is it difficult?
It's difficult, especially because I have somewhat of a physical condition with my muscle group being locked up a bit. but I just basically keep pushing myself. I just go to the edge of what I'm capable of each and every day.
Right on. Right on. And yeah, the whole process of waking before 5 consistently 7 days a week on the floor.
Yep.
Occasionally even sleeping outside or in a tent if possible. Counting one's energy intake with food, and checking in the morning, studying stoicism, doing the calisthenics beasting process, and then all kinds of nuances about it. Have you I'm wondering, do you use the coat of arms or some of the symbolism in it? Have you been using that in your beasting process?
Definitely. So a part of the beasting process is actually reading stoicism as well, right? And every time I read about stoicism, I'm able to categorize the insights that I get from reading about it according to one of the 4 symbols. And that's just one of the ways that I apply it. So, for example, if I read something about courage and it really resonates with me that day, I know that I can, like, mentally, I just see the image of a lion, and also I write down my insight, like I somehow link the two. So when I'm beasting, and I want to have that feeling of going towards something, moving into the edges of my universe, expanding my potential, just that whole feeling of it. I just imagine the image of a lion, and it then also links to the insights I had during my reading, because I made a connection between the two, and it somehow merges all with each other. So that's how I actually apply that.
For sure. Yeah, applied stoicism. I mean, that is the beast, is the stoic applied living stoic philosopher. It's pretty beast when it comes to the philosophy of how to be. And even the seeking out of the raw meats or the raw eggs or the raw milk, and the cold shower routine, of course, how could we forget? And yeah, all of that combined, the wheel, being able to turn your own engine, is this discipline.
Yep.
And the regimentation, the cyclical nature of it, over and over. You can build up, how like when you first start off on a bicycle going up a hill, and you got to like get it going first. But once you get it going, then it just takes effort, but eventually you get over the hill and now you're riding. And so that's the wheel. Got Adrian Garcia nodding. He's like, yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, that's how you do discipline. You got to push the wheel. Push that fucking wheel. And then, and we got the totem animal, right? So, or which could be animals or mythical, whatever you're doing. With that, which I believe we have a diagram. I screenshot a diagram. If I find it here, I think is the, you did 3 diagrams. I picked the best one, in my opinion, was, where is it?
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right. So, that would be the lion animal right there. And an Amor Fati, I think a lion doesn't have a concept, or any animal doesn't have a concept of their own death. I don't think they have a concept of they live in Carpe Diem, but not really, because they don't have any wisdom. So they have no foresight like that. So how can they're Carpe Dieming within their ability. They're doing all of these within their ability. This is the emblem of the beast, and they're a beast. So they're doing all of these to the maximum ability. but they have no higher standard for themselves.
They don't. They have this kind of
Aut Cupalm.
sentience, but they do not have a consciousness to truly reflect upon what they're doing, of course. So I agree with that, for sure.
Yeah, reflect is reflect is the word there. So, but they're definitely representing Amor Fati, you know, this love of fate, because fate, like, is the don't give a fuck attitude. You go for what you want to go for. You know, if it doesn't work out, Amor Fati, you know, you just keep on surviving. So that's beast. We got the wheel is discipline. Yeah, go ahead.
So during the talk that we had, I corresponded Memento Mori with the beast, and there was a reason for that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Like, through the realization of Memento Mori, for us as humans, we can tap into the beast, because through this realization of how finite our time is during this incarnation, we can unlock in ourselves a certain sense of urgency about literally stalking our survival goals, right? And it's basically through realizing that one day we will die, that we can begin to get the inklings of, basically being that beast that truly goes for their survival goals during our limited time here, right? So that was the connection that I made between the two. And to give you another example, from the ancient Greeks, they had a mystery called the Eleusinian Mysteries. And it was a kind of very secluded, hard to get access to cult, and one of the most guarded secrets in history, actually. If you try to find information on what the Eleusinian Mystery Cult was, you don't get a lot of clarity on it. But one of the things we do know about this cult was that one of the main rituals was drinking of a special kind of potion, which induced a near-death experience for the people that went there. And through that experience that they had, they began to come out of that experience with a newfound sense for life, a newfound alacrity, which means a willingness and a cheerfulness which they didn't have before, to engage with life. And that's basically the idea behind unlocking the beast for yourself, from my point of view, because it's that urgency, that intoxication for life. And life is the key word here. It's literally falling in love with survival again, which is what I truly see when I look at the beast, you know? And that's why I connected the two.
I see. So tell me, which did you connect with Amor Fati?
So with Amor Fati, I connected with a tent. And
tell me about that.
So the tent is a symbol which we use to basically tell ourselves we're comfortable in the most uncomfortable situations. We set up our tent here and we're totally okay with it. We're going to make ourselves at home here, right?
I see.
That's what,
with the pen, making me comfortable with what. Yeah, I see that, because the pen is also representing like reading, wisdom, reading and writing. So
yeah,
I can see how I become comfortable with my fate. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was saying the tent. The tent is that symbol that represents us becoming comfortable. Yeah, the tent.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that makes more sense. I was making it make sense, but the tent makes more sense. So yeah, of course. The practice of the tent. or sleeping outside,
Definitely.
or even the shower is like a tent practice.
For sure, exactly. So basically, we become comfortable in hell. That's what the tent represents. And that's also what Amor Fati literally is telling you to do. Love your fate. Love the obstacle. The obstacle is the path. Right?
Right.
So that's the connection between those two, that aphorism, Amor Fati, and the tent. The tent is basically saying, it doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter what is given. Nothing is happening to us. Everything is happening for us. We're putting our tent in the most difficult situation. And we're saying, I'm going to put my tent here until I can become the most relaxed and the most comfortable in the situation. And it's basically the same thing what you're doing when you tell yourself, Amor Fati, love your fate. The obstacle is the path. You see?
Sure. So what did you associate with the wheel?
So the wheel is what I associated with Carpe Diem. Through our cyclical routines that we do day in and day out, we start to seize the day. We beget higher and higher levels of discernment in our daily routine, basically, through our daily routine, I should say. We beget higher and higher level of discernment. And what I mean with discernment is we get insights about how to better our lives. We get insights on what we should avoid in the future. And that's because we keep repeating and finding comfort and finding wisdom in doing the same routine over and over again. And that's also why having a schedule is important. That's why having the beasting routine is important. It's because by engineering that for ourselves, we basically create an environment for ourselves in which we can begin to get our own energy. And that's how we basically seize the day. That's how we carpe diem. You see? So that was the connection that I made there.
Yes, I see. And so at Vitum Aut Cupalm would then match up with the pen for you?
Exactly. Yep. And basically the reason for that is the pen represents, as I explained before, it represents justice, but it also represents writing our own narrative. And at Vitum Aut Cupalm is basically saying for life or into misbehavior. You see, like the way I've explained this before is through wielding the pen, you become a guardian. And you become a guardian of justice. And in what way do I mean that? By writing the positive narratives in our lives, we become a sustainer of what we find just in our lives. So I call it the pen of appraisal. And by validating the things that have nourished us up until that point, so by validating through positive narratives, all the good things in our lives, we become a guardian for that. And the flip side of that is that through, which I call the pen of provision, which means having the provision to see and guard yourself against what is negative. Basically through writing the narrative of morals, boundaries, exclusivity, qualifying, right? By using that side of the narrative, you guard yourself against what's unjust in your life. So there's like a dichotomy between justice and injustice, there's a dichotomy between justice and injustice that you play off with narratives. And this one is kind of the most difficult for me to explain. So I hope that I'm making a bit of sense here. But it's basically the dichotomy between justice and injustice, and taking the pen and writing the narratives that either sustain your conditions or guard yourself against negative conditions that are trying to infringe upon your life. And during the talk on DioNyGenEs, I basically equated it with sacred syntax in a way, because sacred syntax is when, a part of sacred syntax, I should say, is when you're able to guard yourself through your language, through your use of narratives, against negative conditions that are trying to infringe upon you, right? And that's basically saying, guard yourself against injustice. How? Through narratives that invoke your morals, your boundaries, your sense of exclusivity. So knowing how you should qualify people before they enter your life. And that's basically a way of using the pen and writing narratives. So that's basically how I connected it with Vitum Aut Cupalm, because for people to be in your life, so this is basically the flip side of Vitum Aut Cupalm, applying it to other people. For people to be in your life, they have to be in proper and just behavior according to the standards you set yourself, right? So
right, through your community.
Exactly. So if you want to comment on that or have a question about it, I'm more than happy to elucidate.
I'm curious, what's your take on the beads?
Okay, so the beads are, well, what I know for sure is they represent spirituality. And I've written about this a bit on my Instagram, and how I truly perceive it is the whole symbol is a message, a virtuous message, basically. And in this world, we're basically seeing a kind of spiritual warfare going on. And it's basically between what's virtuous and what's unvirtuous or not virtuous. The message inside the emblem reveals a message of doing what's full of merit, doing what's virtuous. And that's one side of the spiritual coin. The flip side of it, which is not represented by the emblem, but basically by lesser philosophies, which are in conflict with it, is doing what's full of, well, I should actually say doing what's devoid of virtue. So doing what's parasitical. And that's what the spiritual battle is against, in my view. So the spiritual battle is against the parasitical nature that a lot of people are involved in. And we don't have to look very far for that, because a lot of people that have made their way to the echelon of society, to the top of society, have done so in a parasitical way. We just have to look at, for example, the Obamas, the Bidens, the Clintons, and it's kind of a way that's devoid of virtue. So what truly, just to capture what I see with the beats in one word and spirituality in one word, is ethics. The beats represent ethics in my point of view. doing it in a virtuous way. And that's basically what the beats represent to me in that. There's a lot more which I could go into, of course. How it's connected to the Ouroboros, the snake that's eating its own tail. That's also a spiritual message. But if you would like to comment on that, of course.
No, it's dope. So, yeah, I guess the last thing I would ask is like, okay, so then, I mean, I think I know what, I mean, I have my own ideas, but so what is, what about the eyeball for you?
So the eyeball, what I see in this is like the ants crawling towards the eyeball, basically. And I know that the eye the eye in other types of symbology represents your ability to pay attention. And that those that are able to pay attention in the most competent way are able to transcend hierarchies in a sense. They're able to, because of their ability to pay attention, they're able to catapult themselves actually almost immediately to the top of a hierarchy. And that's because it's your ability to sustain and have attention on whatever subject it is you're involved with that actually determines how successful you will be with that. So that's what I see with the eye. It's like the eye of providence that you see at the back of the dollar bill, for example. It's at the top of a pyramid, right? And part of this idea that I have about the eye is what I've learned from Jordan Peterson, who has a very interesting book about symbology, which is called Maps of Meaning. But that's basically the core idea I have about the eye.
Copy that. That's very, very interesting. All right. Well, we have a live audience here. Does anybody have any comments or questions for DioNyGenEs? Go ahead and unmute if you want.
Hey, brother, I have a question.
Yeah, for sure, Adrian.
Hey, so where would you go to find out more about these symbolisms and what you studied?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, I made a reference to a book just a minute ago, which is Maps of Meaning, which was one of my most favorite reads, and it goes a lot into symbology. Also, I've personally read a lot about Hermeticism and well, what more? Anything alchemy related, anything Hermeticism related. Also a bit of Neoplatonism. So if you write down these key terms, you'll go pretty far. There's a lot of articles on the internet about it. Just decoding those kinds of concepts, you get really far in terms of symbolism.
Could you spell that last one? Neo what?
Platonism. So that's NEO dash PLATONISM.
Wait, well, hold on. One more time, I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure. So NEO.
Okay, NEO
dash PLA.
PLA.
Yes, and then TONISM. Yeah.
Okay. SM or SN?
M's, Matthew. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, brother. And just Hermeticism. Yeah, Hermeticism is pretty. I've heard of that one before. And alchemy. I mean, Arash is teaching us a lot about that stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And if I may also ask, what got you into all this in the first place? Like you were talking about how, since like a young age, you always just could see these things. Like you could see the way things are connected in that way.
Well, it's not per se from a young age that I've always been able to see these things, but I've always had an interest in reading. And it's just when you spend a lot of time doing something, I guess things become apparent that are normally not apparent to other people. And it's just a matter of putting in the time, basically. And yeah, just following that natural progression. I just came to a point where, well, I was able to decode the coat of arms, and that's basically because I had a background in a lot of information that already connected to what I was seeing in this. You know, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that makes sense. Your machine was programmed to see these things.
Basically, man. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I especially liked the Ryan Gaffer Khan. You look like you're about to say something. Erupt with some thoughts. Go ahead.
Well, hey guys, it's Ryan G from the Netherlands. What's up?
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? You want to just talk Dutch and keep these guys in the dark for a second? No, I'm kidding. So my question has a lot to do with your name. Now, I know your name is Dennis, but why the choice of combining Zeus and Diogenes, right? Why
Yeah.
those specific gods?
So the name that I chose, which is DioNyGenEs, it's like a merge between two names, which is Dionysus and Diogenes. Well, I didn't know about Diogenes until I met Arash. And there was one story that Arash told about Dionysus. Well, he told several stories actually, but the way he told the stories about those characters just made such a big impression upon me that I just I really gravitated towards that character. And the traits that I gravitated towards in that character was basically being the type of individual that just doesn't seek external validation. And that's what Diogenes represents. Diogenes is like the epitome, the paragon of an individual that doesn't take shit from no one and is just someone that doesn't seek external validation from the world. And that was just so inspiring to me and something that I aspire towards as well. So that's why I chose that part of the name. And the connection to Zeus it has is Diogenes basically means son of Zeus or born of Zeus. So, and that's basically saying he was a godly individual. Because God in those times was basically equated with Zeus himself, right? And then the other part of my name is Dionysus, and Dionysus was an archetype for me, which is similar to the Joker archetype, in the way that Dionysus was the symbol or the archetype that represented being able to deal with chaos in a very effective way, I could say. So Dionysus was that archetype for me, of being able to step into chaos and being intoxicated with it, being free in it, basically being an agent of chaos, without being affected by it, with actually being able to ride the flow of chaos and live in it. But because Dionysus was the god of wine and the god of intoxication. And that's what truly, that's what spoke to me in that character, in that, like the Joker, exactly. And so I merged the two, and it became DioNyGenEs. And that's basically saying born of Dionysus instead of saying born of Zeus. So that's what I regard myself as. I regard myself as being born of Dionysus, because just stepping into that character just did a lot for me.
So basically you're saying you're born of chaos.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Which is intercourse. Alekros is said it.
Yep.
All right, fantastic.
Cool, right? Yeah.
You bet it is. Yogi Chris, I have no more questions.
Right on. That sounded a little erotic there. That was interesting. All right. So anything else for DioNyGenEs? So fun to say. I want to say it as often as I can.
I love it as well, brother.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, the process, the physicality of it, and the studying of Stoicism and application to your life and relationships, especially, which are, most difficult application of Stoicism. That's going to be a very fun alchemical process, changing you, transmuting you into higher versions of yourself. And then on to phase 2 and develop, adapting and morphing your routine to fit, your particular purpose, what you're out there hunting for. So very exciting. It's good to decode the beast coat of arms, the whole symbol. Every symbol taps the beast. Every symbol is part of the beast coat of arms. And, I'm sure it's open to change, but it is, comprehensive symbol of, all the angles we attack this from. So it's almost like a 12-sided diamond or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually regard it as a philosopher's.
Cool to hear you. What? What's that?
I want to say, I actually regard it as a kind of philosopher's stone in itself, if you just look at it, because it's like something that you can hold in front of you, like a stone, literally. Let things pass through it, and just like letting information filter through that philosophy, that composite of philosophy that it is. You create a kind of shield in front of you. So before information reaches you, you've already filtered it through a kind of character framework, as you could call it. And you're able to manage whatever comes on your path, whatever comes in your way, just through the prism, through that stone in your hand, through the prism of that philosophy. And before it reaches you, you have already processed it in a way, actually.
Bro, the philosopher's stone I never thought was going to be like a mental thing that you work with. I always thought it was going to be something physical. And maybe I just didn't understand philosophy. I think this was really one of the tools to help me. It's not that I didn't even know philosophy or have any philosophy. It's just kind of helped a gateway of my awareness into like, oh, this is, I have a philosophy. And then I started seeing that I have a philosophy. Maybe it's not best suited for what I want, where they say like, drop what doesn't serve you anymore. Like this philosopher's stone as a mental device is a good way to see where my ideas about how to live contradict, what is going to get me what I want.
Yep. Yeah, for sure, brother.
And especially combined with the physicality of the process and all of the details of it. So really cool. I think it's really awesome. People get to understand the symbol. We broke it down pretty well. You did. And so I'll post this recording. It'll be made available for, people in the Telegram and the newsletter and so on. Appreciate everybody showing up live and showing your support. And hopefully you learned something and it enriched your perspective of what we're doing here. Thank you, DioNyGenEs.
Beautiful.
From Netherlands. And we'll see you all very soon. Oost, brothers.
Oost.